protecting him, and those people, no one knows for how long they can actually protect him, because basically they will be affected by media, they will be affected by their own interests, they will be affected by their own tribes' interests. So basically there are different issues related to how long they can actually protect Gaddafi.
Okay, so we're going to leave it there for now, but no doubt we'll be talking to you in the hours ahead. Thank you. Updates on Libya are coming up after the break, along with all the world's other headlines, including a special report from Mexico, which is in the midst of a drugs war that is spilling over its northern border and is straining relations with the United States. We'll have all the details. That's right after the break.
Hello again. For the States, it's been the western parts where we've seen the wettest of the weather recently. On the satellite picture, you can see the cloud here all piling its way in from the Pacific. California there has certainly seen an awful lot of heavy rain. Now, there will be more wet weather for us as we head through the next couple of days, and it's going to stay quite cool as well. Looks like LA there will be at best getting to 16 degrees, and that's 61 in Fahrenheit. Meanwhile, further east, the temperatures here are cooling off as well. A top temperature of 0 there in New York, a very cold day. And for Washington, D.C., we'll be struggling to around 5. Now, a bit further south, and here for some of us, there's big news because it does appear to be stopping raining. From Nicaragua down to Panama, it's been very, very wet over the past couple of days, but now the clouds are beginning to ease a little bit. Not for Colombia, though. Here, it's still going to be incredibly wet, and there is still the risk of seeing some localised flooding. Up towards Europe, and here for most of us it's quite quiet, but it is now getting a little bit milder, so higher than we have been in Moscow, up to around -5 degrees I think for Thursday, and for London up to around 9. The wet weather though, that's still across the Mediterranean. It's very wet for many of us at the moment, but it is moving away from Algeria and Tunisia, so here it should be a bit drier.
You're watching Al Jazeera, a reminder of the very latest on the uprising in Libya. The battle between pro and anti-Gaddafi forces continues. This video uploaded on the internet is said to show protesters repelling a major counter-offensive by pro-Gaddafi troops in Brega. This footage has not been independently verified. Rebels took control of the oil export terminal a week ago. The Libyan leader has again said he won't step down, and Al Jazeera has learned that Colonel Gaddafi has accepted an offer by Venezuelan leader Hugo Chavez to mediate the crisis. The Arab League says it could impose the restrictions over Libyan airspace if fighting continues, but the American Defense Secretary is warning of the gravity of such a move. Now, at least 2 people have been killed in Yemen during clashes between security forces and protesters calling for reform. Thousands have also been demonstrating once again in the capital Sana'a and the northern city of Sada. Opposition parties have presented the president with a set of proposals they say form a roadmap to departure. President Saleh is said to be considering the plan. Egyptian security officials say 3 people have been killed and 10 injured in clashes between inmates and police at a prison north of Cairo. The prison's director was also injured. Damanhur prison is in Al-Bahira province, north of Cairo. The families of 2 jail jihad organization members, Aboud and Tariq al-Zumur, fear they may be killed inside the prison as a result of the clashes. The 2 men were sentenced to life for their role in the assassination of Anwar Sadat. The head of New Zealand's Civil Defence Authority says there's no hope of finding anyone else alive after last week's earthquake devastated the city of Christchurch. More than 200 people are still listed as missing. 161 bodies have been recovered but haven't been identified because of their extensive injuries. The Civil Defence Department says operations will now focus on recovering the dead. 2 U.S. servicemen have been shot dead as their military coach arrived at Germany's Frankfurt airport. A 21-year-old Kosovan has been arrested. 2 other U.S. Air Force personnel were injured. Nick Spicer reports.
The attack took place inside a bus after a lone gunman got inside a vehicle carrying U.S. military personnel. He shot at several passengers just as it pulled into the terminal. One soldier and the bus driver were killed.
I would like to express how upset I am. The German government will do everything to find out what happened. I would like to express my condolences to the American soldiers and their families and relatives. It's a terrible tragedy.
Police have arrested a suspect. In a surprise appearance in the White House briefing room, the U.S. President Barack Obama was quick to respond, saying he's saddened and outraged by the attack.
We will spare no effort in learning how this outrageous act took place and in working with German authorities to ensure that all of the perpetrators are brought to justice.
The regional interior minister said the man being blamed for the attack was from Kosovo, but wouldn't specify if he was a soldier or what the motivation could be.
We're
investigating all possibilities. Whether there is a terrorist background, a jihadist background, or an Islamic background, I cannot say at all right now. Our investigations will reveal that, as well as what the perpetrator's motives were.
It's quiet now, but this is one of the busiest airports in the world. Thousands of people go through here every day, and many of them are American service personnel. That's because there are major American military bases nearby, providing medical and logistical support for the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. Nick Spicer, Al Jazeera, Frankfurt.
Mexican authorities have found a mass grave in the south of the country. Police in the state of Guerrero say it contains the bodies of at least 17 people. A spokesperson has said the grave was found on Tuesday in the town of San Miguel Totolapan and that more bodies could be discovered. It's the first mass grave found in Mexico since June. Meanwhile, a UN anti-drugs agency is reporting that Mexican drug traffickers are overtaking Colombian gangs in the production and supply of heroin. The report from the UN's International Narcotics Board also says the purity of Mexican-produced heroin is increasing. This drugs crisis is expected to be on the agenda when Mexican President Felipe Calderón meets Barack Obama at the White House on Thursday. Frank Contreras reports on how relations have been strained by the drugs war.
Neighbors in distress. Once again, security, or the lack of it, will top the agenda when the U.S. and Mexican leaders meet. Nearly 40,000 people have lost their lives in Mexico's drugs war. Two of the most recent casualties, U.S. federal agents who were in Mexico to investigate migrant smuggling groups. 1 week after the shooting, these suspects, allegedly members of the Zetas drug trafficking organization, were arrested. Police say they confessed to committing the killing, calling it a case of mistaken identity. Mexico and the United States are economically intertwined, but the relationship is often delicate. The latest source of tension? Leaked U.S. diplomatic messages that describe Mexican security forces as corrupt and uncoordinated. The criticism has angered President Felipe Calderón. He points out it's U.S. drug users and lax gun laws that fuel the problem.
They haven't reduced drug consumption. They haven't reduced the flow of weapons. On the contrary, it has increased.
The latest opinion polls in Mexico show a majority now seriously question Calderón's aggressive security